So, next big news sort of took the gaming community by storm is the fact that Nintendo shut down the Big House online event. So the Big House, if you guys don't know what that is, it is a major for Super Smash Brothers that happens pretty much every single year. But because of COVID, obviously they are hosting it online, and they recently received a cease and desist from Nintendo of America from hosting the event because they are using a program called Slippi, which is pretty much a sort of like mod or like add-on for Dolphin to make playing Melee online like the best that it can be. Pretty much like trying to emulate what it would be like to play locally but online. So and the features that Slippi has is like rollback netcode, matchmaking, complex gameplay stats, improved streaming video quality, and more. So like the people who made Slippi obviously made it with the intent to make sure that they were able to preserve Smash Brothers Melee in the best way that they could for online play because like input lag and like pretty much like any sort of like delay for Melee is kind of big just because of how fast and how many inputs you need to make when playing Melee. Obviously, as like a casual viewer, I can't exactly say this, from personal experience, but just like knowing on how the game works, like Slippi is obviously like a third-party add-on, and like Nintendo did not approve of this, so they pretty much just shut down the whole event. And they are unfortunately having to refund people and, sort of cancel the event. And this sparked the whole sort of Twitter thing with like save Melee, save Smash, because obviously like there's a fucking pandemic going on and Nintendo shut down this event just because they could, which was a little sort of out of nowhere. When I first heard about this, I wasn't necessarily surprised. I was still disappointed and very, mad at Nintendo that they would still do this kind of bullshit in 2020, especially with how this year has gone on. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this, Damian?
It's definitely like sucks, and it would make sense to use Slippi, like this new application, just because again with everything with COVID, like online tournaments, that's how you're supposed to do all like tournaments in general now, since no one can really be close to each other, and having Slippi here, because I heard really good things about it, like it makes playing online like super flawless for Melee anyway. And I get again, it's always this weird thing. I was actually talking to my brother about this. Like, yeah, Nintendo's legally right to do all this stuff, but it doesn't make them like right. Like they're still assholes for like doing it. Like if you look at Sega. Like Sega just lets anything go. Like, hey, you can do like anything with fire. I mean, we have the Sonic hacking contest. Like people just could, do whatever they want with Sonic, and that's cool because you see the fans really care about that character. And it sucks that Nintendo has to be so protective over the IP. Again, they're in the right to do so, but it's still like, come on. Like, they're obviously showing some support for Nintendo because it's still playing Melee. Like, people really like Melee. So I really don't understand what's the harm in this. Again, I know Slippi's like a third-party thing, so it kind of makes it more complicated since, I don't know, I guess with emulation, it's just like, okay, you're just emulating it. Even though Nintendo hates that too. I feel like they were like okay with Dolphin, so I was like, all right. But with Slippi, I guess like maybe they go too much into the code and they don't like that. I mean, I don't really know. Like I don't know, man. Like it just sucks that we can't have like these tournaments or any tournament for Smash in general just because the online sucks. And it's not like it's any better for Ultimate because Ultimate's online also sucks.
Yeah.
So it's just like such a bad. I mean, on top of the other things that happened this year with the Smash community, they haven't been getting a break this year.
Yeah.
And it's just very unfortunate to see because, I think this would have been really cool. I heard so many good things about Slippi and it finally being able to use in like a big tournament like Big House. Would have been a good, would have been a cool debut there, but, I guess not because Nintendo hates fun. So, yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
And again,
no, go on.
yeah. I was just going to say, like, I get the people, like, trying to defend Nintendo, but I don't know, man. Like, it doesn't feel right. Like, I get that they're legally right, but I just feel like you're going against like everyone just by doing this, like just let them have fun, I don't really understand what the issue here is.
Yeah, it's like, people who are playing Melee, they obviously love the game. Like anyone who gets into Melee and is still playing Melee to this day obviously loves the game because playing the game at a competitive level requires a lot of time, a lot of effort, because that shit is not easy. Like watching people play that game and even trying to like amateurly sort of like emulate that shit myself in my home on my GameCube playing Melee, I was like, man, fucking doing like wave dashing and all this other shit. Like this is kind of crazy. Like this, like it obviously isn't as intensive as playing like actual sports, obviously, but like when it comes
Right.
to playing a fighting game, for me personally, like this has to be like pretty like intensive because when I play Ultimate, it's not as me like trying to wave dash and do all of these like L canceling, all this like sort of like crazy movement. But yeah, definitely a blowback for the Melee community once again, but also just like the Melee community always is like very very much like they're keeping their heads sort of high. They're trying to make sure that they are trying to get through this once again, just because Nintendo's being just a bunch of assholes pretty much. Like when it comes to any other sort of company, like you said with Sega, when it comes to Sonic, like they don't do anything with Sonic. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, you're making like this fan game, sure, whatever, go for it. Nintendo, they're very like protective of their properties, which like they are legally in the right to do. But when it's something that is like so harmless and only can benefit the player base and the people who consume your content, it's a little weird for them to sort of attack that.
Hmm.
So, but that's
Um,
where I'm gonna end it. But what else you gotta
I,
say?
and just like one last thing on this, it doesn't even make sense because you can't even like buy Melee and like I would get if they were so harsh on like all this Melee stuff if you could buy Melee in like an eShop, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you've never been able to do that. Like Nintendo really gains nothing by doing this. Like it's like an old ass game and they don't resell it anywhere. So I really don't understand what's even the harm in doing any of this. Like they're not really hurting the IP in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are still gonna buy Smash Ultimate. So I really don't understand why they're always so like violent towards the Melee community. Like again, maybe if you could have bought Melee in on the Switch and it had online, okay, I could see that. But this just seems always so petty to me. But yeah, Nintendo. I love Nintendo, but it's also hard to love Nintendo sometimes
Yeah.
when they do so many bad things like this, you know.
They definitely shoot themselves in the foot a lot for like no apparent reason. But
Yeah.
we'll move on.